Welcome everyone to the 4 p.m. session of the Virtual Staffing Conference. We have the new movement for paying employees, which is electronic payroll for today and tomorrow, presented by Dallas Wilfong of Rapid Paycard. Welcome, Dallas.
Thank you. So good afternoon to everybody, or good evening, depending on where you're joining from. I want to start by saying thank you very much for allowing us to be a part of your conference, and thank each of you for joining us for our presentation today, electronic payroll for today and tomorrow. We have a lot to cover in the next 30 minutes, but I do want to spend just a second on this first agenda item, because while I know that many of you have either started to hear or have been hearing the last year or so about these new on-demand pay tools, these advance on accrued wages, instant pay, things of that nature. They go by many different names in the industry. I recognize that there are probably some of you on the call today joining us that have not heard of them. So just to touch on it very quickly from a 30,000 foot level, I wanted to explain that what we mean when we're talking about on-demand pay is the ability for an employer to allow, through a set of rules that they determine, so pay frequency, the amount, the percentage of net pay, whatever it might be, the ability for their employees to access their pay before their scheduled payday, which is obviously, typically in your industry, where I spent 13 years, by the way, in commercial construction staffing and industrial staffing, weekly or bi-weekly. So what I mean by that is that if an employee is 4 days into the work week and they have an unexpected emergency expense come up, or maybe it's Thursday and they need gas to get to work and cannot wait until tomorrow, they're not missing a day at your client's site or facility, but they're able to access their pay, put the gas they need in the car, buy groceries that they need, etc. When we look at on-demand pay, it's simply just the evolution in the way that we pay our employees. We started, if we go all the way back in time, we started with a barter system where you worked for other goods or services. We then moved to currency. Then we moved into paper check world. All of us agreed that paper checks were timely, or time consuming and very costly for us as employers. So we looked for an alternative, and we were presented with ACH, or direct deposit. In past years, and even today, many employees and individuals in the marketplace are not eligible for, do not have access to traditional banking. So pay cards were brought into the marketplace as a way to bring employees into a digital economy, not just allowing them to be paid via direct deposit, which is all that is, but also allowing them to live in a world that many of us probably, oftentimes, I know I sure did, when I was in the staffing industry before moving into this world that I'm in now, possibly take for granted. And that's, the ability to do things like, access our pay for free, not paid for check cashing fees, pay bills online through bill pay, book a rental car, hotels, shop online instead of having to go to the mall, which obviously right now is a very big deal, right? More so than ever before. So it was a great product to bring the unbanked into the mainstream. And what we actually find today with the studies that are done is that more people who have pay cards actually have access to a bank account or savings account than those who don't. And they're using it because there are no monthly maintenance fees, and it's just as good of a banking product for them. And millennials actually choose it over traditional banking, but it doesn't have those monthly maintenance fees that you get with traditional banking because you don't have a minimum balance of $2,500, et cetera. So then we come into today in that next evolution step in payroll, and that's these on-demand platforms. We also have, we call them disbursement platforms, and that's allowing employees to access their pay via their ACH, via, onto a pay card. It's also allowing for pay into things like PayPal, mobile wallets, cash pickup at Walmart, et cetera. So a lot of great things that they offer outside of the advanced on accrued wages tool. But that's where we're at, and that's you know, the what we see to be the future. And right now, this is certainly a differentiator for employers in the marketplace, but we're seeing it grow very quickly, and probably not going to be so much of a differentiator, say 5-10 years down the road, and probably will be the norm, just like direct deposit is today. We'll then look at how life doesn't always wait for payday. You know, we have those unexpected expenses that pop up, and how these new payment platforms are really a solution for retention and engagement for those of you in the staffing industry, and a way for you to set yourselves apart from the competition, at least again right now, while not everybody does have it. And finally, we'll wrap up with, you know, what are some key considerations that you should be looking at as an employer if this is something that you decide to move forward with in your organization. You know, what are some of the things that you should look at when you're doing your due diligence? So that's kind of a scary picture, isn't it? You know, you might get in trouble if you're seen doing this right now out in public, unless everybody in that picture is your family member. And you know, certainly just a few weeks ago, things were much different, both socially and you know, financially, and then, you know, according to the job market and everything else. In fact, there are some things though that haven't changed. A lot of these statistics have probably increased, and not for the better. But I want to take a look back at how things were before we entered into the COVID world, and see what was really driving and pushing this new on-demand product that we're seeing out in the marketplace. One of those items, one of the things pushing that, is the fact that 78% of U.S. workers are living paycheck to paycheck to make ends meet. Nearly 3 in 4 workers say that they are in debt today, and more than half of those employees think that they always will be. Hopefully you're not part of that group. More than half of minimum wage workers say that they have to work more than one job to make ends meet. Now, this is a study that was done by Career Builder in 2018. Do not think that this last statement means that employees are working 2 full-time jobs. What I think it means is that employees are working a full-time job or close to one, and then working, you know, possibly in the gig economy, delivering for Uber or Uber Eats, or doing some kind of a side gig or side job in order to cover those extra expenses that come up when their pay cycle doesn't quite line up with their billings, and whenever they have one of those unexpected emergency expenses pop up. And I hope that the tools that we're showing you today will show how that can probably eliminate that need for many workers. So who's running out of money between paychecks? I think that if we're being honest, most of us would have thought that we're talking about strictly the, you know, lower income earner, the entry level employee, and probably wouldn't have considered that it went much further than that. But this is a study that was done by Salary Finance, and it's a survey over 2,700 US adults. And as you can see from this graph, it is pretty much uniform across the income spectrum. We are not talking about simply employees who are, again, entry level or low wage earners. You know, I think we've all heard the saying in our lives: the more we make, the more we spend. And certainly, and I know this with family members and friends, making more money does not necessarily make you a better manager of your money. And when we make more, we typically take on more debt, right? We have a higher mortgage, we have more expensive cars, we take trips. And when we look at the far right of this graph, we see that over those earning over $200,000 a year, 30% of them say that they are running out of money in between paychecks and living paycheck to paycheck. So obviously this is different now, but when we look back, this is what was really initially driving the desire for employers anyways to have this benefit to offer to their employees. You know, we were in a labor market where the unemployment rate was 3.8%. And as you know, in your world, the 3.8% didn't mean that there were 3.8% people out there that you wanted to have working for you. Oftentimes that 3.8%, you know, they weren't people you were looking to bring on. In fact, most of you were probably doing what your peers and competitors were doing, which was trying to hire from others. That's where you typically found the quality employee, was by differentiating yourself or offering something to an employee that enticed them to come work for you. Maybe you got lucky and caught them in between a project with a client and they were available at the moment, but you were probably looking for ways to bring them in. And this was a tool that was having great success in doing so. Now, when we look at today, again, a very, very different image. In fact, in April, on April 20th of this year, we had a record 16 million Americans that were receiving unemployment benefits due to the pandemic that we're in and coronavirus. And, you know, obviously the labor pool and those available that's loosened up, you know, a fair amount. But that does not mean that as we all start picking back up and you start seeing your orders come in from your clients, that is going to be a lot easier for you to hire the quality people that you want to bring in. Keep in mind that everybody's going to be competing for the same individuals. And if you think that all the people that you laid off are going to come back to you, there are a few studies out there right now that cause us, you know, as employers to question that thought. And one of them is a study that was done by Snagajob, where they found that 60% of the employees that they surveyed that had been furloughed and were temporarily laid off or permanently laid off said that if they have the choice, they will not be going back to their previous employer. I think, you know, that's probably due to a sense of hurt and pride being laid off, but either way, they're saying that they're certainly going to be looking elsewhere. So as we're looking to bring people back on and things start to pick up, we are still going to have a need to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace and attract those employees that we want to have working for us. So this slide here, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, just for the sake of time, being that we have 30 minutes together. But I do understand that this presentation will be available to all of you in future days to come. So welcome you to come back and look at this. But it essentially is talking about what's going on with employees as far as layoffs, whether their hours have increased or decreased, and looking at it by vertical and market. But with all this talk of layoffs and high unemployment, we do know that there are certain companies that are not being affected by this in a negative way. In fact, their business is increasing tremendously. You see the second comment there that Amazon, Walmart, Lowe's, and others are hiring to fill over 400,000 job openings that are strictly, you know, related to the coronavirus demand. And if you look at those companies over to the left, while many of them are brick and mortar facilities, or at least they have them, and that is part of their business, certainly the majority of their business and what's driving the growth for them is because they are set up to work in a digital economy, meaning that people are able to make their purchase electronically. They might still be showing up to pick it up in person out front, you know, in a call waiting type of environment. But the purchase itself is generally being made, whether it's being shipped to them or they're picking it up electronically to begin with. And I think it's important to point this out and remind us that, you know, these electronic tools for our employees are a great benefit, especially in a time like now, with when we're trying to, you know, be safer at home and not, you know, go out in the public as much. It's really a great benefit to your employees if they don't have access to a bank what are companies looking for now? Well, I would say that companies were looking for all of this prior to COVID, but in our world, we are finding that this is a lot of these items are becoming essential now, and a necessity for employers. Many are looking to accomplish these tasks immediately within their organization, and they persist of eliminating paper checks to drive 100% electronic payroll, especially again for those who are unbanked. We see a lot of people coming to us in the industry that are saying, look, we knew we needed a backup plan for natural disasters, hurricanes or what have you, snowstorms, but we really need something now, and everybody is working to get a disaster plan and a backup plan for emergencies in place right away. Deliver solutions for cash-strapped employees. That speaks to the on-demand tool that we had. And, as we think about it, when employees do start coming back to work, I know that when I was in the staffing industry, we gave advances out like candy every week. And that was in the best of times, because we had employees that were paycheck to paycheck. Again, like I mentioned earlier, to get them to go to work and take care of our client on a Friday, when they were getting paid that Friday, we needed to give them $10, $15, $20, whatever it might have been, on Wednesday or Thursday to do so. They couldn't wait until the middle of the day Friday. And if they did, that meant they were running to the bank, cashing their check, et cetera, and we didn't want them doing that either. So we were constantly, with over 100 offices around the country, handing out these small advances just to keep our employees with our clients, and in doing things such as, a payroll disbursement form or what have you, or just trusting that they would bring back the money that the manager of that branch loaned them out of their pocket. Their employers are looking to unlock tools for employees to pay bills and shop online, like we talked about. So we show this slide just to point out that these products are scalable. Uber has been using an on-demand product for about 3 years now, and they're paying out over $1.3 billion each year to their drivers. Now, granted, Uber is a 1099 company, or at least it is right now. That obviously may be changing. So it's a little easier for them to be ahead of the curve and do this. These products are just now coming into the mainstream marketplace for W-2 employers. But Uber allows for their drivers to access their wages up to 5 times a day for a 50-cent fee each time. So this is a snapshot just kind of illustrating what we as traditional W-2 employers are competing with the gig economy out there. We're paying weekly or biweekly, and those in the gig economy are paying instantly through mobile apps, websites, over the phone access. And when we're trying to compete with those employees or with those employers, it definitely makes it tough when you look at this scenario. In fact, 44% of gig workers in the U.S. have received either full or partial advance payment for their services. And that's a lot of gig employees. There are 75 million freelancers today in the workforce. That's almost half of the workforce. And we're seeing projections that by 2027, that number of 1099 workers will exceed the number of W-2 workers in our country. So it certainly doesn't, right? If life waited for payday, things would be a lot easier for everybody out there, but they don't. And we see a lot of hard choices and bad choices being made because people have expenses that pop up unexpectedly that they need to take care of. and we'll talk about that here in a second. But when we look at the use of these on-demand tools and platforms, I think it's important to show that, because I know that when we're typically talking in person around the country, one of the first things that we hear is a concern from an employer, and I think it's a phenomenal concern, and we have the same ourselves, and we do everything in our industry, us and our competitors, to try and promote financial wellness and make sure that this doesn't happen. But everybody always seems to have the concern that employees are going to access their pay every day and go out and spend it, and payday is going to come and they're not going to have anything left, right? And this study, I think, is important to show you because it really points out where employees are, when they access those funds early, what they're using them for. And if you look at the fact that there are emergency expenses, groceries, utilities, and rent, this is showing us that they're not accessing these funds for casual spend, to go buy a new shirt or the new, download a new game that came out that they just can't wait, until Friday for. They are using it out of necessity. And before I go to that slide, I want to say if you think that employees don't have a need for this type of access to their pay, I would ask you this question. Do you think that a payday lender or a check cashing facility that gives you an advance on your paycheck is a great financial tool? Have you ever recommended that option to somebody in your family and said, look, when you need money, this is the place you go because the interest rates are phenomenal. They're going to take care of you. It's no big deal. Just go there and they'll give you a loan and you'll be good. Obviously not. I hope not. Their fees are high. Any article that you've ever read or study you've ever seen has not been favorable. But the truth of the matter is they're important to have. At least they have been up until this time. And they've been important to have because, they're there out of necessity. With those horrible fees and with, all the concerns that come with them, they're still in business and they still thrive and they still grow and they have a huge, lobbying group. And the truth is that there's a need for them, and the alternative to those high fees is even worse when somebody can't, keep their utilities on, buy groceries, pay for a flat tire, or whatever it might be. This is an example that we put up that just to kind of lay out the scenario, and I can tell you from personal experience, this could be my story with my 3-year-old. I can also tell you that if you're going to break the screen on your phone, if somehow you have control over it, break the front screen, that's about $120 on an iPhone to fix. The back screen's about $250. I broke both. Actually, my daughter broke the front and I managed to break the back. And what that did for me was that got me a new phone through my employer. Your employees, you're probably not buying them a new phone. And your employees, believe it or not, the phone is not a luxury item anymore. In fact, I'd be willing to bet with the majority of your employees in the staffing industry, their main source or their only source of contact is somehow tied to their phone, whether it's email or a phone call. They have a cell phone, and a very large percentage of the population these days, especially those who are on the low end of the pay scale and living paycheck to paycheck, do not have a home phone anymore. It's a cost, and it's something that's just not utilized when we have these devices on us all the time. So if you need to get a hold of somebody to pull them off a project, to put them on a new assignment, to give them an update on something, ask them a question, get in touch with them for any way, or they need to get in touch with you, this is how they do it. So when Joe's phone broke, he had no choice. He needed to fix it. And, we're assuming in this scenario that Joe did not have the $300 to pay for the new phone and did not have access to a credit card, but he had to replace that phone. So what did he do? He went to one of those payday lenders and he borrowed the $300, and that came along with a $60 fee. And that $60 fee is $60 if Joe pays it back in 2 weeks, or it rolls over for an additional fee. If Joe is the typical payday loan user, studies show that Joe is going to access 10 payday loans a year. That's $600 in fees. If Joe was accessing responsibly his wages that he had already accrued in the pay cycle, and maybe Joe needed $300. Oftentimes we find that someone like Joe probably needed an extra $100 or $50 to supplement what he had in his pocket to take care of this emergency expense. Joe would have paid on average, depending on the company out there in the marketplace that you were utilizing, and of course things like size of your company, negotiated fee schedule, et cetera. On average, and really on the high end, probably would have paid a fee of about $5, about the cost of an out-of-network ATM fee. And if Joe's the typical payday loan user that's racking up $600 a year, that's $550 in savings. That's a big deal for anybody. That is definitely a big deal for somebody who is a paycheck to paycheck individual. So I think this says a lot. It also re-emphasizes the use of these products. And what we're seeing here, and this is both a study by the Federal Reserve Board as well as the Mercator Advisory Group, both found that the opt-in rate when polled for wage advance options, okay, the ability to have that option, for those individuals under 30, the opt-in rate was 100%. But when looking at how many of those individuals would actually utilize and access on-demand wages during any given payroll, the answer was 20. The results came out to be 25%. So again, this reemphasizes the fact that people are not looking to do what I did in high school and college when I was waiting tables, which was earn tips in an evening and then go out and spend everything irresponsibly and be left with a $2 an hour paycheck at the end of the week. But they're looking to take care of life as it happens to them. So we live in an on-demand economy, right? I mean, everything is instant for us, and that is driving this push for an on-demand payroll tremendously. I mean, you know, you've got the generational thing. You've got majority of the workforce, or the highest percentage in a generation in the workforce, are the millennials, followed by, in Generation Z. By 2022, millennials are said to, or they're saying are going to make up 75% of the workforce. I'm old enough, and I'm sure some of you on this call are old enough to remember AOL dial-up, where you had that horrible sound you had to listen to. You were so excited when you got that free 30-minute disc for online access in the mail, and you had to wait, 15 minutes to access the internet, whatever that was at the time. And you were fine with that. But when you think about somebody who is a millennial or Generation Z, they haven't experienced that. At least most haven't. And they have always had instant access to any question through the all-knowing Google, Mr. Google, and Wikipedia. They can answer any question immediately. They can buy anything they want around the world immediately. They can often have that shipped to them the same day, if not the next day. Worst case scenario, the second day. And it holds true for just about everything else in our world. So payroll coming into the same on-demand concept is I think very understandable. So on-demand is a solution for retention and engagement, definitely. I can tell you that as somebody who spent 13 years in the staffing industry, we were always looking for solutions to hire, ways to attract talent and retain that talent. We ended up with one that worked very well, which was offering paid time off to employees. They were doing that based on the hours they worked. We were able to accrue 4 to 6 weeks of paid vacation, but we ended up cutting that after 4 years because it became so costly. This is something that would have been a tremendous tool for us. And Laura, I'm noticing that I am out of time, it looks like.
We are just about out of time. If you need another minute or two, that's fine.
I'll tell you what, that would be greatly appreciated. And I'll skim through here and try and hit the high points. And again, this will be available to all of you, at a future date. And should you have any questions, I would encourage you to reach out to myself, Dallas Wilfong, or Art Kimball at Rapid Paycard, and we're happy to talk in greater detail or answer any questions you might have. But if we look at the employer benefits, this is what we're seeing across the board, right? This is an average throughout all industries. I personally feel, going back to my staffing days, that these numbers would have been a lot higher. We would have certainly increased job applicants by being able to say that, we offer you, I know we wanted to be able to pay people daily. We were a skilled construction staffing company, but we didn't want the headaches that were involved with paying people out cash every day or writing checks every day. We refused to do it. But this would have enabled us to compete in that world, which is probably the world that we lost the majority of our skilled workers to when they got to Thursday and realized they needed cash quicker. Because maybe they hadn't worked in a couple of weeks and things were just so tight that they needed to go do day labor. That was a huge perk. And now this is kind of bringing everybody into the same playing field as the daily pay process. Improve employee retention, without a doubt, this would have been higher for us. I talked about the PTO. I think more importantly, people care more about when they get paid and how they're paid than anything else out there. So this would have been a tremendous tool. And the workforce absenteeism, this would have prevented every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, $10, $20, $50 cash advance half the time we didn't receive back that we gave out, and would have allowed our employees not to miss a beat and show up to their assignments in a much more timely manner, keeping them from having to go cash their checks and do things like that, and would have gotten them there each and every day. So this other stuff here, I'm going to let each of you come back and view. It's really just some stated facts and some FAQs. As far as this page right here, I'll speak to it very quickly. The industry, the products and demands that we're talking about today are so far ahead of regulators and the Labor Department and the IRS that there is very little defined case law or guidance available. But I can assure you that those in our industry, along with different associations such as the American Payroll Association, human resource groups, and many large employers around the country, are working very closely with the IRS and the state's Labor Department to gain answers to questions and opinions. So going to stop there. Laura, I don't know if we have time to answer any questions and if you received any, but if not, we're happy to do so at a later date.
That sounds great, Dallas. Thank you. I don't see any questions in the box. So again, the presentations will be made available sometime next week. We'll send a link to view. Thank you for your time today. And I invite everyone to join us for the virtual Sip and Learn happy hour session sponsored by Essential Staff Care. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in today. I'm going to change it over to John Sealander, past president of the ISSA, and Tyler Emmerich, who is the current president of the Wisconsin Association of Staffing Services.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. I hope you've got something to sip on. And now I just have to figure out how to get the slide presentation up, which really is at least important. So where is, okay, we're gonna go to that. There we go. So we thought we'd give you a half hour or so to tell us and help us learn. Okay, a lot of great stuff that was presented today. I really enjoyed the presenters. At first I was a little slow with Danny, worried what he was saying, and he was kind of getting me down. And then at the end, about a quarter way through, he got it going, and I got what he's talking about. We got to get double down. That's what I heard. And we've got to work like we've always should have been working. So I think it was really exciting. So we've got a bunch of you on here, and I've yet to figure out how to get this handout out. How come?
Yeah, well, great. And, you know, the whole idea here is usually happy hour at the Midwest Staffing Conference is always a great time to kind of connect and debrief over the day seminars and have a conversation over a drink. And so what we're doing now is inviting anybody who is hanging around to unmute yourself and join in the conversation. Everybody should have the ability to unmute now in the program. And we're looking for participation and feedback and thoughts and stories on what's working for you and what you've learned and what you're going to implement. So this is participation time now, and we certainly want to thank Bill Fan and Essential Staff Care for sponsoring this portion of the event. And I think the drink bill will be much less this year than typical, so that I guess helps you, Bill.
Yeah, sorry folks, we're not buying you drinks, but you can serve your own. The first, we're taking this kind of as a round table, but with 45 people. So I sat in on a round table at ASA about 3 weeks ago, and there were some great questions that were asked. And on the screen should be, what innovative approaches have you taken to help your business grow and help yourself, help your industry through your company through these times. So what operational enhancements and innovative solutions have you implemented as a result of the stay at home and the complete change from COVID? Some of the subtopics would be technology, paperless needs, touchless interfacing, recruiting tactics, selling tactics, new business lines. Anybody have anything they want to share before Tyler and I have to blab?
Hey, John, this is Bill. Tyler, can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. First of all, let me start off by thanking you guys for the great partnership and everything. Just so excited to continue our relationship and learning a lot from you guys about your industry. You know, I did want to share real quickly the some of the things that Essential Staff Care is doing. You know, we've been we're fortunate that we can conduct most of our business in a virtual realm. So the social distancing, safe practices, and all has been a learning experience for all of us, but not too far from what we've been doing. But one of the things that we've done that's been really cool, I think, is to have virtual meetings each day just to check in and keep everybody connected to each other. And that's been real valuable. I know for myself, working at home so much, you become somewhat isolated. And so that's one of the things that we're doing.
Communications has been the key for this. And our company, half of our company was using Teams. We utilize Teams a lot. We call each other back and forth. We do a lot of video conferencing before COVID, okay? And so that half of the company, when this happened, we were just like, I'm glad we knew this and we were using this. Another half of my company wasn't as into it. They weren't using it. And now they had to use it. And I was so glad we had it in place and the tool was available there so that people could chat, they could video conference, they could talk back and forth, they can sync their calendars, so much that they could do. So that technology saved, I think, our butt. And then we don't use Zoom, but we use GoToMeetings. That's our way once a week to get together and see every face, connect with the people. So, how about you, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how well you can stay connected via video chat and video meetings. 4 times. People people can really stay connected and feel that personal conversation happen. And it's worked out really well. Whether you're talking to somebody in a different branch office or somebody in their kitchen working from home, it's worked out very nicely.
Anybody else out there, technology or new business lines? Go ahead. Okay. On the call that I had with some of the ASA people, one of the individuals said, "Hey, I'm in hospitality staffing. My business is gone. 100%."
Well, yeah, it's very skeleton. I mean,
If
Shauna will be closed
that would be
completely. I don't
great.
think Becky has
You're not
worked since
talking.
this whole thing started.
So, and so they're in hospitality and they're like, "Oh, what are we going to do?" But instead of going, "Okay, let's just close the doors," they said, we have professional salespeople working for it. This company happened to be in Ohio. The governor of Ohio went out to all businesses and said, "Hey, by the way, if you want to have a product to sell, put it on this website. Put it on this website so that other people in Ohio can see it." And he went on that website and found a guy who's selling hand sanitizer. And he put his salespeople to work selling PPE equipment, okay? Because he found the source, and it has nothing to do with what we do, guys, except we deal with HR, so on and so forth.
Stop.
That's her hobby.
Stop.
So if you can mute your phone if you're not talking, please. And I don't know, Laura, if you can see who it is and mute.
Yeah, if anybody wants to speak up, unmute yourself, but if not, go ahead and keep your microphone muted. I know for us, our new hire paperwork and our onboarding, a lot of that was done online already for us, but there was a lot that for certain sectors and clients, we still had a lot of paper onboarding to do to get people going. And frankly, we got all that put online and really maximized the electronic new hire paperwork, and it's worked out very smoothly. And frankly, it's kind of I guess made me aware that, boy, we really didn't give enough credit to a lot of our candidates and new hires, that they could actually get it all done online, or it'd be too difficult to get through all the steps. And we were worried that it just wasn't going to work, but it has. It's worked out really well for us, and it was very surprising to me how smooth it's actually gone. So that's just goes to show how well technology is working, as far as all that paperwork really being able to be done on a smartphone.
Yeah, Tyler's totally correct. Another really exciting thing that I experienced was, after setting some up with remote onboarding, they were having difficulties, and I was able to set up a Google Meet and then walk them through on their monitor how to get through the issues that they were having. So that was really an exciting opportunity that we accomplished that together, and my candidate was really happy about that too. So just using all that technology together was amazing.
Yeah, this is Bill. Can I ask you a question? So, in being in the insurance industry, of course, this goes down my street a little bit. But do you find that is easier or more difficult than the old paper onboarding, as far as documenting your ACA compliance and maximizing your recruiting? Has that affected you? How has that affected you
I think it's easier. I think it makes the process a bit more seamless because you're less likely to miss something, first of all, because you've got everything together. We've got it all together in our, onboarding virtual packets where you don't have to worry about missing something. And so it's definitely an easier process. You go through and check everything off, and you've got everything you need. So.
Yeah, and I asked that question. It's interesting, from essential staff care perspective, we've had electronic onboarding both through our integrated partnerships, and also standalone for companies that use smaller payroll systems. But now with the COVID situation, it's amazing how much that is sort of lit its own fire and accelerated. And also it's, I think a lot of other clients are finding out what you found out too. Awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, the loan document for the PPP program, my bank is always, we'll have a meeting, we'll sign documents, and then they take me to lunch, of course. They gotta get that out of them. But PPP was actually all electronic. I mean, we didn't have to sign anything by hand. It was really, but then I had to renew a loan afterwards, and we're back to paper again. So, but it makes me think about all of the paper we have, and why do we have it, and how do we get it so it's automated. I mean, FFCRA came out, and we have to have paperwork, and I mean, we need to get that onto DocuSign or something so that people can sign the document and electronically, because one, why get together? So.
Yeah, and I found about any ATS system nowadays, the software is there. It's just a matter of really putting in the time on the front end, setting things up and getting all the forms right and formatted. And there's effort there. Once you get that set up, the effort on the back end, getting somebody through the process, has been cut in half.
Anything else you guys want to add on innovative? We'll go on to our second topic if we're good with that. I think innovation is what I think we heard that from both of our speakers, Danny and David. I mean, innovation. What are you doing innovatively to be different? And then Danny says, okay, I can't give you a 25%, 30% fee like normal. Well, what can you do, or how can you build it? So you don't think of that as being innovative, but it is. It's innovation. So the second topic is plan to return to work. Wisconsin, you guys are awesome. You're back to work. You guys don't have to stay home anymore, but took a court order, right? So, but Illinois, we're still stuck, so we got to figure out how to do it. So anybody got things that they're doing? So topics are safety, PPEs, testing, screening, etc. I bet Lance has some ideas. May not be on the call. Well, I'll start this then.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Hi, Tyler, could you, because we hope to be back at work soon, can you tell me when everyone went back, what are you doing in your offices? How many people are in there? How are you? Is it business as usual? Can you just kind of explain that process?
Yeah, well, first of all, Wisconsin isn't fully back to business as usual by any means. There's still certain counties that have things shut down, and still kind of a mess up here. Not as much as down in Illinois, but still confusing. Yeah, for us, we have 5 different branch offices in my firm, for example, and we have clients that have been operating all through this as essential businesses. And so we've had to serve them with crews working in our offices on a limited basis, as well as working from home. So we've had to kind of split our team up. And those that have been continuing to work in the office, there's been social distancing, there's been limited office hours, office appointments. We've cut down on in-person interviews. We've enforced strict hand washing standards. And as we get back to normal, especially after Memorial Day, with opening up the offices more, we're implementing masks for all front office interactions with people coming in and out of the office and our team. So for us, it's really about kind of a whole checklist of personal hygiene, social distancing, and simple steps to minimize any sort of face-to-face interaction.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know, just to pile on there a little bit, I know our company president has mandated that everybody stop at 1 o'clock every day and clean their all their surfaces, disinfect all their surfaces, and go through the office and all the touch points, refrigerator handle in the break room, and keypads for entry and those kind of things, and just common sense things. But Tyler, if I can ask a question, and I've heard it debated, and I'll just be curious to see what people think. There seems to be some anecdotal evidence that of something that's called, I'll get this term wrong, but herd immunity, where in some studies the incidence of the outbreak have been greater in places that shelter heavily, as opposed to going out and getting exposed to a little bit of the virus here and there and building some immunity. Does anybody have any thoughts or heard anything like that?
Well, I guess all I can add to that is I know that there was just a study released today that I think Sweden, which was kind of the big country that didn't shut down, they just finished a big test of antibody test of their citizens and so forth, and found that their immunity levels were at like 7%, which is comparable to other countries that have shut down and sheltered in place. So it seems like, from what I've heard anecdotally, that that's the theory, but we don't really know how well it works or how quickly that'll work with our current situation.
Sure, a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
It's above my pay grade.
See, I'll just say, John, since this is a sip and learn, is it okay just to disinfect my lips a little bit, just in case?
I am, yep. Well, there was a study.
I'm worried about Tyler over there. I haven't seen him disinfect his lips.
Here, there, but it's got that green G on there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's right.
But oh, I forget. Oh, there was I saw a news article. It said mouthwash is a simple thing that has actually helped prevent it. So I would think whiskey straight is very similar to mouthwash, except you can swallow it down. So I don't know. Our company has done something similar to Tyler's. We put together a list of things that we are asking our people to do, and we're going through phases. First phase is really people can come back in the office as necessary. If you don't feel ready to come back in the office, we're okay. We understand that the fear's out there and it will be there for a while. At some point, we'll open it up and say we'd like everybody to return. A call happened. I was on a call an hour or so ago with California, and what if the employees who refuse to come back because that's going to be third phase. We're going to have to make decisions. I mean, if you are absolutely scared to death to come back. If you're not a top producer, I don't know. We're gonna have to decide. We have to figure that out, because being together is very important to what we do. And so from time to time, bigger problems are the big cities. So Chicago will be a problem one for us because they got to get on public transportation, and public transportation, it's hard to social distance in it. And my solution there really is, how can we figure out how to get parking for our people so that they could. But then, I mean, temporaries wise, it's going to be tough because a lot of them don't have cars. So that's not an option. So still a lot of unknowns, but initially, same thing. You disinfect after yourself, take care of your own desk, make sure the cleaning crew is doing minimum standards, and use good judgment. Anything else that people are doing?
John, this is Lana. I've heard some companies like not splitting shifts, and I'm talking about staffing firms, like part of the team comes in the morning, part comes in the afternoon. You know what I mean? Like flexible work hours, which kind of makes me think about education too. Like, what are they going to do in classrooms with students, you know? But I think that there's a lot, like you said, like Bill said, so much uncertainty, but then I think there's just going to be kind of a rethinking of how you bring people in, especially in an office environment. Like in our office, our downtown office, people don't sit 6 feet apart. So what do? You know, stagger the desks, and I don't know, there's a lot that I know our HR team is thinking about.
Yeah, Lance, who works for me, his daughter works for Live Nation, or one of their divisions of Live Nation, and they just redid the whole environment before this to make it, actually, I think they were actually making it less open. You know, a lot of these environments today, you're next to each other. You have a 4-foot work surface, and the next person's 4 foot. The article I just saw a few minutes ago about there's gonna be a lot of empty property in Chicago, real estate. But I think there's gonna be a lot of people going, hey, we gotta grow our space because we were putting people in 4-foot sections, you know? So they're gonna put them in 6-foot cubicles now to protect them. So yeah, I mean, that's gonna be a big one. We've never had people that close, so.
Yeah, and I think about, like, I know in our offices downtown for advanced resources, like we have interview rooms, right? And if you know, you can't if you were in an interview room with a candidate, you would definitely not be 6 feet apart. So I think the whole concept of interviewing in the office is going to change. I think there's a lot to really think through.
It'd be like confessional, you know, you have a wall between you and them.
Right.
Exactly.
Father, I have sinned.
Here's your mouthwash.
I'll be really good at this job, I swear.
Exactly.
One company, innovative, and I don't know how he's getting a hold of this stuff, but there's a large staffing company in New York. He is contracted and he bought tests, and he's testing everybody staff-wise. He's testing them every week, and he's testing them for both antibodies and for COVID. And that's part of his screening, just to help. One, I think is good for the psyche of the people. Again, I don't know where he's getting the tests and how reliable they are or anything, but that's what he's doing, is a return to work.
I also think that like HIPAA and I think there's a lot of really interesting things to think about too. Like, what if you have employees who are immunocompromised, or what if they have health conditions that make them more at risk if they were to catch COVID, but they don't want to disclose that to you, like because of privacy. You know, I think that there's so many interesting things that I'm sure employers and legislators will work through, but it's really pretty far reaching, I think.
Well, I think that is a great one. I mean, that hopefully our HR systems we've put together already encourages people to come to HR or whoever that representative is and say, hey, I need a reasonable accommodation. That's what ADA is all about. And we're going to have to reasonably accommodate. So if somebody comes in and they say, I'm 65 and this is a danger and it's not going to stop being a danger for a year, I mean, we have to see how we can reasonably accommodate that. So you all have to figure out what reasonable accommodations are.
Yeah. And I hope now, I was talking with someone yesterday, we were talking about like that now, hopefully companies that might have been very anti-remote work before this all happened, hopefully now they've seen, while it's certainly not ideal, we can still get business done remotely. But I hope that that'll open up some opportunities for people. Like I think about people who have a harder time getting into the office, maybe because of a disability. You know, maybe this will open up some opportunities for people that that prefer working from home. So that could be one positive.
Yep. What else do people have on return to work?
Yeah, and I know for us, a big thing is really just for the foreseeable future, there's just a whole extra element of, boy, you know, if people are sick, they should stay home. That's always been kind of a mentality, but it's just at a different level now. If you feel sick at all, if you have a temperature before you're coming into the office, stay home. And you just got to be more, I don't know, proactive and cautious than ever before. And so you just got to have leniency there and flexibility with the internal team.
Well, Tyler, let me ask a question. I'm just thinking out loud here, but you know, as a company, if you put such a policy in place, is it kind of on the honor system? Hey, if you feel bad or achy or feverish or whatever, or, you know, do you check their temperature, and, you know, how do you do that? I mean, and is that a HIPAA issue?
Right.
It's very, very strange times.
Well, it does have HIPAA implications, and again, it's like anything. It all comes down to respect of the person's privacy, and figuring out how to maintain that while keeping the workforce safe.
You know what, though? It's definitely a mindset for people of a certain age, because it used to be, listen, you don't call in sick because you have a cold. You don't call in sick because you're achy. You go to work, you know, and so it's a total different mindset now.
You're not coming in.
Yeah, right. You better be in a coma, right? You better be in a coma if you're not coming in. And it's just totally different now, right? So.
Gosh. Now, if you're at the store and you see someone sneeze, you're like running in the other direction. Yeah.
I used to be like, you better be dead if you're not coming into work. Now I'm like, oh, you got to sneeze? Don't come in.
Right? It's not funny anymore.
Yeah, I just got in from Wuhan and I have this little sniffle. Can I come in today?
Please stay home.
I have offices in California and I want to go visit them when we get open, but they're not going to want me to come, are they? Some of them are on the call. I hope you do want me to come, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, you don't know who you sat next to on the airplane. So. And I'm not going to quarantine for 14 days before I go see them. Well, it is California, but it's summertime. I don't really need to be there in the summer.
I think that's another interesting aspect of all of this is business travel. You know, we do some staffing in the clinical research industry, and we place like clinical trial managers who travel all the time for work. And now, you know, what does that look like? So many things to work through.
Well, we'll move on to the next topic, but this sipping was only supposed to go till 5 o'clock, so you're welcome to leave. We just thought we'd have content here in case you were enjoying it. So I'm guessing you're enjoying what you're sipping on, or you wouldn't have brought it. If you didn't bring anything to sip on, sorry. Managing current relationships. So What secrets can you share about managing your current client and talent relationships during this work at home environment and during this isolation environment? Are there special sales tactics developed? Have you developed? How are you developing new talent, onboarding new talent, and being available for your customers? So, Bill, your business?
Well, I reach out to my clients, and just check in more than normal to see how things are going, and let them know that we're here and that Essential Staff Care as a company has taken on a lot of procedures in our administrator and all to make sure that we can manage through this should this get better or get worse, and encourage people to use these best practices and, just be safe and consult the experts. One of the things that is so great, and there are so many great things about associations like ISSA and WAS and Midwest in general, is the things you do to help our industry grow and survive the normal ebb and flow of business, not to mention when something like this comes along. And sometimes I tend to look at things and see the worst possible outcomes, but also I'm so encouraged by what I'm hearing today, and if I could send a medal that would mean anything, I'd send it to Lana for all those great comments and questions. But man, if there is a silver lining to this, one of them is events like this where we can do something a little bit more intimately and share ideas, concerns, and try to work through this. I've learned a lot. We as a company have learned a lot, and hopefully been able to share some too. Today I'm disinfecting my lips much more than I normally do. But it's high COVID risk here.
Hanging around with me happens that way. One of the things we did, we try to do things differently, and I was thinking we do an employee appreciation week twice a year. We do one in the spring, one in the fall, and it's designed around both our staff and our temporary associates. And what we want to do is we really want our temporary associates to know that they're part of a group, they're part of us. They sit at the client, they're not always recognized in whatever the client does. We wanted them to be recognized at something. So we usually give them a little tchotchke of some sort and we thank them, or we'll bring over pizza or whatever. We'll do, each office kind of does their own thing, but we do a generalized thing. This year, I picked up the phone and called everybody at the Plus group. My wife picked up the phone and called everybody at Banner and all of our temporary associates. We got most of voicemails, 80% of the time, but we left a message basically saying, hey, we truly appreciate you being on the job. Appreciate you sticking through this. We hope you're healthy and safe. And if you need anything, please call us. So we wanted to touch our talent because it was too important. And I mean, I'm sure they're feeling like some of them are probably, and some of them were really gracious. They're like, oh, thank you so much for calling. And others were like, who is this? Is this for real? They'd call my branch manager, Patrick, is this for real? What is this message? So that's one of the ways we're teaching, and we've ingrained it with our people, our team. We've said, I mean, we have a weekly call with reaching out to our team, and every week we reinforce, make sure you're talking to our talent, make sure you're talking to our clients. Kind of like that old United commercial. We won't be getting on the airplane, but United commercial where I'm going out to see that old customer who we've lost track of, and he stopped using them. So get out there. Tyler, anything?
Yeah, for us, it's certainly it's certainly a season where you can be a lot more open with your clients and your talent, and kind of have a conversation that maybe is a little deeper than you normally have when you're having a client meeting and it's via Zoom or something, and everybody's joining in from their remote offices. There's a lot of venting and sharing about the current environment, struggles of working from home, fears and frustrations. So I guess I've seen there's just been a great opportunity to kind of build a personal bond a little deeper with clients, and everybody has their guard down a little bit more than they typically do, and there's just kind of a sense of, hey, we're in this together. Let's chat about it. Let's vent about it. Let's see how everybody's doing, and that goes a long way. We've certainly also been doing a lot of different things to try to keep all our temporary associates engaged and feeling like there is, we're here for them. We're engaged. We're doing different contests via text and email to try to have some fun during this time, and give some prizes that people aren't necessarily expecting, but brighten people's day in this tough environment.
Hey, Tyler, let me chime in here, and I will apologize to everybody up front because like a lot of people, sometimes we have secret desires, and I had a secret desire. It's John. It's like, oh my God, what's he going to say? And that was to be a stand-up comic. But I had bad knees, so that didn't work out. Well, the jokes weren't really that funny either. But one of the things that we've tried, I just wonder if anybody else has tried this, is to come up with something in the company just to make people think and add some levity to a very stressful situation. It is stressful. People are thinking about their livelihoods, will they have a job, can they pay their bills and all this thing. So can I show you is it okay to show the formula that I came up with?
Sure. I think.
So in my laptop, it looks backwards, but it's FK divided by SD equals DE. So Essential Staff Care would like to do an impromptu contest if we can, and we'll send the winner a nice prize. And to relieve everybody's fears, there's nothing dirty in this at all. But can anybody decipher, have any idea what this formula represents? Okay. So this was nobody at work figured it out either. So we're not we're not as smart as you guys for sure. But in the area of COVID-19 era, French kissing divided by social distancing equals a disappointing experience.
Yeah, you don't get it.
That was terrible, wasn't it?
Sure was.
Keep your day job, please. We have tried to have some happy hours with our staff, and that's one of the things that our company's odd. We have 4 locations in Illinois and 3 locations in Northern California. The 4 in Illinois, they can get together from time to time. The 3 in California, you almost need to book a hotel to get together and do anything social, because they're just too far apart. So we can't do a whole lot of all together unless we flew everybody to Chicago or somewhere, and who wants to come to Chicago, and we just couldn't afford it. So this technology has afforded us the opportunity to have happy hours twice. And I've always wanted to do a movie night. One of my favorite movies related to our industry is the movie Dave. And Dave, if you haven't seen it, I forget who the actor is, but he
Kevin Klein.
Kevin Klein owns a staffing company, and he looks just like the president, and he does stand up or impersonations for card dealerships and stuff. And they notice him, and the president needs him and to fill in for him while the president's with Marilyn Monroe or whoever he's with. And the president dies, and they put him in place to run the country for a while. So it's a interesting movie from 1980, I think. So most of the people on the call might not have been around in 1980. But we were able to have a movie night with the whole company. We sent everybody the movie. We told them to watch it, and we had a happy hour afterwards to talk about the movie, and it was kind of fun. So it's something we couldn't have done otherwise without this. So I think if we heard some of our speakers, appreciate what we have and take advantage of the opportunities we have. Well, we've eaten up 45 minutes of your time. Hopefully you've had a couple of drinks. There's 22 of you left. So hopefully that's not only my staff who's still on the phone call. But thanks for coming on. I know Laura's on the call. She's one of my team.
And if everybody will keep drinking, the jokes will get funnier.
Thank you.
Laura Sarcy, thank you very much for running the day.
Yeah,
You are
thank you.
making this happen for us, and we appreciate it. Tyler, you've been part of it most of the day too. So Lana had to run to a virtual tap dancing class. So that's interesting. Got a little noisy in her house. So, but thanks. Have a great day, and we got more content tomorrow, right, Tyler?
That's right. Starting out at 9 a.m. tomorrow, we got one last day. So a lot of great talks and a lot of great speakers. So join us again tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, John. Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Essential. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.